You know when you're traveling and you get super excited to arrive at your hotel? You check in, grab your room key, head up to your floor. But what if I told you that at some hotels in Canada, there are people who checked in over 100 years ago and simply never left? That's right. Today, you're going to discover 7 historic hotels in Canada where guests are still walking the hallways, entering rooms, riding the elevators, even after they're dead. And listen, one of these hotels had a room where things were happening that were so strange, so terrifying, that the owners made a radical decision: seal the room forever. They literally turned that room into a wall. Nobody can go in there anymore. Stick with me until the end, because the last hotel on this list, man, this one is considered the most haunted in all of Canada. And when you find out how many ghosts live there, you'll understand why. Let's discover together these 7 most haunted hotels in Canada. But before we start this spine-chilling journey, take a quick look and see if you're already subscribed to the channel. And don't forget to hit that notification bell, because you won't want to miss a single episode of this series. Trust me. Hotel 7, Fairmont Banff Springs, Alberta. Imagine a huge castle right in the middle of the Canadian Rocky Mountains. That breathtaking place full of snow, giant mountains all around. Looks like a movie set, right? Well, this place exists, and it's called the Fairmont Banff Springs Hotel. This hotel was built back in 1888. That's over 130 years ago. People call it the Castle in the Mountains. And look, it really is beautiful. But there's a dark side to this story. The bride who never stopped dancing. Let me tell you a sad story that happened at this hotel. It was supposed to be the happiest day of her life. A beautiful bride, gorgeous white dress, everything prepared for the perfect wedding. The ceremony was lovely, everyone was happy, and it was time for the party in the ballroom. But then, tragedy struck. She was coming down the hotel's main staircase, you know, those huge stairs that look like something from a princess story. Yeah, that one. Her dress was one of those really long ones, with lots of layers. And along the way, there were lit candles, because back then they didn't have modern electric lighting like today. Her dress caught fire from the candles. She tried to run, panicked, stumbled, and fell down the stairs. Right there, on her wedding day, she died. Now comes the creepy part. Since that day, people have been seeing this bride at the hotel. And you know where? In the ballroom, dancing alone. Always at 3 o'clock in the morning. Hotel staff have seen her many times. She appears in her white dress still, dancing as if she were at the wedding party she never had. Some people also see her coming down that same staircase where she died, as if she's reliving that terrible moment over and over and over again. The room that became a wall. But wait, there's more. Do you know room 873 at this hotel? No? That's normal because it doesn't exist anymore. This room was so haunted, that the hotel made a bizarre decision. You know what they did? They completely sealed the room and turned it into a wall. There was a family staying in that room and they simply refused to leave. Not because they liked it, but because they were terrified. They said there was something really bad inside that room, a heavy, terrifying presence. After that family left, other guests started complaining about strange things, unexplained noises, feeling like someone was watching, objects moving on their own. So the hotel owners thought, you know what? Let's end this problem once and for all. And they literally erased the room from the map. They built a wall in its place. Today, if you walk down the hallway, you'll see the room numbers, 871, 872, and then it jumps straight to 874. 873 doesn't exist anymore. Are the ghosts still in there, trapped behind that wall?
Hotel 6, Prince of Wales, Niagara-on-the-Lake. Now we're heading to Ontario, to the town of Niagara-on-the-Lake. There's a hotel there called the Prince of Wales that was built in 1864. But this hotel has a very different history from the others. It wasn't always a hotel. During the wars, this building was turned into a military hospital.
Imagine, wounded soldiers, surgeries without proper anesthesia, because back then they didn't have it, Lots of pain, lots of suffering, and lots of deaths. The soldiers who never left. There are soldiers from the War of 1812 who still patrol the hallways of this hotel to this day. They're stuck there, still thinking they need to fulfill their duty. And you know what's scariest? During the early morning hours, guests wake up to sounds of battle. That's right. Gunshots, screams, the sound of swords clashing. And at 5 o'clock in the morning on the dot, every single morning, a military bugle plays. Guests wake up scared, thinking someone is playing a bugle in the hallway. They go complain at the front desk and discover there's no one playing any bugle. Because the one playing it is a ghost who still thinks he needs to wake up the troops. The maid who works eternally. But look, my favorite story from this hotel is about the ghost maid. Imagine the scene. You're sleeping peacefully in your room. It's 2 in the morning. Suddenly you wake up to a noise. You open your eyes and see a woman making your bed. Dressed in that old-fashioned maid's uniform, very Victorian style. You're shocked, right? What is this woman doing in my room at 2 in the morning? Many guests went to complain at the front desk. You have an employee entering my room in the middle of the night. You know what the answer is? Sir, madam, we don't have any maids working at this hour. Our staff finishes their shift at 10 p.m. This ghost maid, poor thing, keeps working even after death. She still thinks she needs to make up the rooms, that people are waiting for her service. The child who plays forever. And there's more. On the 3rd floor of the hotel, there's a ghost child. Guests hear giggles, that delightful laughter of a child playing. They hear the sound of someone running down the hallway, like when a kid is running back and forth. Some people have entered their room and found toys that were on the shelf all scattered on the floor, as if someone had been playing with them. But there were no children staying on that floor. Could this child have died in that makeshift hospital and gotten stuck there, not understanding what happened? Is she just looking for someone to play with? Hotel 5, Delta Bessborough, Saskatoon. Now let's go to the Canadian Midwest, in the city of Saskatoon. There's a hotel there that looks like a French castle, super imposing, super beautiful. It's called the Delta Bessborough, and it opened in 1935. But this hotel carries one of the saddest love stories you'll ever hear. The bride who never came back in the 1930s, there was a couple getting married. She was radiant, happy, beautiful wedding dress. It was their wedding night, that first night as a married couple. They checked into the Delta Bessborough to celebrate. But in the middle of the night, she disappeared. The husband woke up and she wasn't there anymore. They searched the entire hotel, nothing. Called the police, searched everywhere, and nothing. Days later, they found her body in the South Saskatchewan River, which is right near the hotel. To this day, nobody knows exactly what happened. Was it an accident? Did she fall in the river? Or was it something more sinister? The white dress that floats now. Since that day, there's an apparition that terrifies guests. Especially on the 10th floor of the hotel, people see a white wedding dress floating down the hallway. There's no body, no face. It's just the dress, as if there's someone invisible wearing it, walking slowly. And there's something worse. During the early morning hours, guests wake up to crying, a female crying, desperate, anguished. It's a cry that breaks the heart of anyone who hears it. Imagine waking up at 3 in the morning to this crying coming through your room walls. It's chilling just to think about. The piano that plays itself. And check this out. In the hotel lobby, there's an old piano, beautiful, and this piano plays by itself. Staff working the graveyard shift have witnessed this many times. They're there doing their work, the hotel empty, everyone sleeping. Suddenly music starts playing on the piano. And you know what song? A wedding march, that classic wedding song. When they go to look, there's nobody at the piano. Absolutely nobody. But the keys are moving on their own, as if invisible fingers were playing. Could it be the bride, playing the song that should have played at her wedding? The unexplained cold. There's another strange thing. Some hotel rooms get freezing cold out of nowhere. Like really freezing. Guests turn the heater up to maximum, extra blankets, everything. But the room stays freezing. They've measured the temperature and it's dropped to 14 Tystigfeef inside the room, even with the heater running. That's not normal, there's no scientific explanation. And you know what's strangest? Along with this cold, a strong smell of flowers appears. A bridal bouquet. That characteristic smell of roses and lilies. It's as if the bride is passing by, carrying her bouquet. But look, these 3 hotels are just the beginning of our journey. Because the next hotel I'm going to tell you about, man, the story there involves betrayal, despair, and a revenge that lasts to this day. A woman who suffered so much that she decided never to leave that place. Are you ready for this? So tell me something. Would you have the guts to sleep at any of these hotels? Like, for real? Because I'm here telling these stories, and I already have goosebumps. Drop in the comments which of these stories creeped you out the most. Was it the bride dancing alone? The ghost soldiers? Or that wedding dress floating down the hallway? And look, if you know someone who stayed at a haunted place, or if you yourself have experienced something paranormal at a hotel, tell us. I'm going to read all the comments and reply to each one. I love hearing these stories. Now let's continue, because the next story is absolutely heartbreaking. Hotel 4, Fort Garry Hotel, Winnipeg. Now we're heading to the city of Winnipeg in Manitoba. There's a hotel there called the Fort Garry that opened in 1913. Back then, it was the fanciest, most luxurious hotel in all of Western Canada. Imagine those huge hotels that appeared in old movies, full of glamour. That was it. But behind all that beauty, there's an absolutely devastating story. The Woman in White, Room 202. Let me tell you this story properly because it's heartbreaking. It was the year 1920. A woman was staying in room 202 of this hotel. She had traveled there thinking she was going to have romantic days with her husband. But you know what happened? She discovered her husband was cheating on her. Right there, in that room. Imagine the pain, the humiliation, the despair she felt. She was far from home in a hotel room with her heart completely shattered. And she couldn't bear it. That same night, she went to the window of room 202 and jumped. The end. Her life ended right there in that moment of total despair. But the story didn't end, because she never left that hotel, the most active presence of all the hotels. Look, of all the hotels I'm telling you about today, this room 202 has the most intense paranormal activity. That's not an exaggeration, it's serious. Guests who sleep in this room report terrifying things. Imagine you wake up in the middle of the night and feel a weight on your chest. It's not that nightmare feeling, no. It's a real physical weight, as if someone is sitting on top of you, suffocating you. You try to breathe and you can't do it right. Your heart races. You open your eyes desperately and see a female figure sitting on the edge of your bed. She's in white, long hair, and she's staring at you, without blinking, without moving, just staring. Several guests have had this experience. Some can see her clearly. Others only feel the presence, feel the weight, feel that someone is there. The crying that goes through the walls. And there's another thing. During the early morning hours, the rooms around 202 hear crying. It's not just any crying. It's a desperate, anguished crying. The kind of crying from someone whose heart is completely broken. People call the front desk. There's someone crying in the next room. They seem to be in distress. When security goes to check, the room is empty. Nobody's staying there. But the crying continues. The hands on the mirror. Now this part is what creeps me out the most. There are guests who go take a shower in room 202. The bathroom gets all steamed up from the water, right? Normal. So when they get out of the shower and look at the fogged up mirror, there are female handprints. As if someone had placed both hands on the mirror. The marks are there, perfectly visible. But there's nobody in the bathroom. There never was. The marks simply appear, as if she's trying to communicate, trying to show that she's there. The man at the bar. And it's not just her. There are other ghosts in this hotel too. At the hotel bar, there's a man who always appears in an old suit, those 1920s styles. He always sits in the same place, at the same bar stool. The bartenders see him from a distance and go to ask what he wants to drink. But when they get close, he disappears. He simply vanishes into thin air. This happens so frequently that the staff don't even get scared anymore. They just say, "Oh, the gentleman appeared again." Paranormal investigations. This hotel got so much attention that over 15 paranormal investigation teams have gone there to study the place. And you know what they discovered? They documented over 50 unexplained events. 50. They recorded voices on EVP, those recorders that capture spirit voices, filmed objects moving on their own, registered brutal temperature drops. This isn't one of those cases of, "Oh, they say it's haunted." No, there's evidence, there's documentation, there's video, there's audio, and the woman in white, she's still there, to this day, trapped in that moment of pain, reliving that betrayal eternally. Hotel 3, Fairmont Château Laurier, Ottawa. Now let's go to Canada's capital, Ottawa. Right next to the Canadian Parliament, there's a beautiful hotel with French Gothic architecture called the Château Laurier. This hotel opened in 1912, and it should have been an incredible moment of celebration. But it wasn't, because there's a cruel, tragic irony to this story. The man who died before seeing his dream. The guy who commissioned this hotel was named Charles Melville Hayes. This was his dream, his life's project. He planned every detail, chose every stone, imagined what the opening would be like. He was so excited to see the hotel finished that he decided to take a quick trip to Europe before the grand opening. It was going to be a quick trip, and he'd be back in time to open the hotel's doors. You know which ship he boarded to come back? The Titanic. That's right. The Titanic. Charles Hayes died in the Titanic sinking just 12 days before his hotel's grand opening. 12 days. He never set foot in the finished hotel, never saw people walking in, never saw his dream realized. And the worst part, his body took weeks to be recovered from the Atlantic Ocean. The hotel's opening happened in an atmosphere of total mourning. The ghost who wanders his project. And you know what's been happening since then? Charles Hayes never left his hotel. Staff report seeing a man in an old suit walking through the hallways. When they check historical photos of Charles Hayes, they recognize him. It's him. It's the builder. He wanders through the hallways he himself designed, looking at everything, observing, as if he can finally see his work. There's something that happens constantly. Staff are working in the lobby and feel that strange sensation that someone is looking over their shoulder. They turn around quickly and there's nobody there. But the feeling was so real. The elevator that has a mind of its own. Now listen to this. The elevators in this hotel have very strange behavior. Several times a week, the elevator goes up by itself to the second floor. Nobody pressed the button. There's nobody inside. But it goes up. And you know why? Because the second floor was where Charles Hayes' office was going to be. It was where he was going to work, run everything. It's as if he's still going to his office, taking the elevator every day to work, like he did when he was alive. The midnight footsteps. Every single day at 11:47 p.m. sharp, and look how specific that time is. There are heavy footsteps in the hallway. It's not normal walking, it's dragging, heavy walking, as if the person is tired, carrying an enormous weight. Guests come out of their rooms to see who's passing in the hallway. They look one way, the other. There's nobody. But the footsteps continue. You clearly hear someone walking, but you don't see anything, and there's something many people report. When these footsteps pass by, a wave of unexplained sadness takes over the person. You don't know why, but suddenly you feel a deep sadness, a heavy melancholy. And when the footsteps move away, the feeling goes away. Could it be his sadness, from dying without seeing his dream, from being trapped there, watching his hotel operate, but not being able to really be alive to enjoy it? The cigar smell. Oh, and there's one more thing. Charles Hayes smoked cigars. It was his habit. And to this day, in certain hotel hallways, that characteristic smell of old cigars appears out of nowhere. Nobody is smoking. Actually, smoking is prohibited in the hotel, but the smell is there, strong, unmistakable, and right after the smell appears, the doors start slamming. One door slams, then another, in sequence, like dominoes. Guests come out scared. What's happening? And there's no wind, there's nothing that explains it. The doors simply slam on their own, one after another. Hotel 2, Algonquin Resort, New Brunswick. Now, let's go to Eastern Canada, in the province of New Brunswick. There's a little seaside town there called St. Andrews, super charming, and in it, there's the Algonquin Resort. This hotel opened in 1889. It has that very preserved Victorian atmosphere. You know those hotels where you walk in and it feels like you went back in time? That's exactly it. But behind all this beauty, there are spirits that can't rest. The abandoned bride of the tower. I'm going to tell you a heartbreaking story. It was the year 1920. A young woman was engaged, all happy, organizing her dream wedding. She had reserved the Algonquin Resort to celebrate the honeymoon. The big day arrived. She put on her wedding dress. She was beautiful, radiant, and went to the altar. But he didn't show up. The groom simply didn't come. He left her standing at the altar, in front of everyone. Imagine the humiliation, the pain, the despair. She had planned everything, dreamed about that day, and he destroyed it all. She went to the Algonquin Hotel anyway. After all, it was already reserved. But there, alone, unable to deal with the pain, she climbed up to the hotel tower, that tall tower with a view of the sea, and hanged herself. The woman in the window. Since that day, people look at the hotel tower and see a woman in the window. She's always in white, standing still, looking at the sea, as if she's waiting for someone who will never come. Local fishermen have seen her many times. They know the story, and when they see that figure in the tower, they just shake their heads in pity. It's her again, because she's still there, waiting, forever. The wet footprints. Now comes the part that leaves everyone confused and scared. Staff arrive in the morning for work and find wet footprints in the hallway, as if someone had just come from the beach, with their feet soaking wet, and walked through the hotel. The strange thing is, these footprints appear out of nowhere. They have no beginning. They simply start in the middle of the hallway as if the person materialized there. And where do they go? They always lead to room 473. The footprints go to the door of room 473, enter the room, goes under the door, and continue to the bed. And there the footprints simply disappear. There's no wet trail leaving. It's as if the person lay down on the bed and vanished. This happens at least once a week. Staff already know, they already expect it. When they see the footprints, they think, here we go again. The whispers in Old French. There are guests who wake up in the early morning hearing whispers. It's not in English. It's not in modern French. It's very old French, the kind that hasn't been spoken in over 100 years. The whispers come from the walls, the ceiling. You can't identify exactly where from. It's like several people are talking quietly, but you can't understand what they're saying. There was a guest who was a French teacher, and she managed to understand some words. She said they were words that don't even exist in modern French anymore, words that were only used in the 19th century. The door that opens by itself. And there's this scary story that happened in 2019. A couple was staying at the hotel. They locked the door of their room with the security latch, that chain you put on the inside, you know? It was 3 o'clock in the morning. They woke up to the sound of the door opening. The door was locked, with the security chain. Physically impossible to open from outside. But the door opened. The chain came undone by itself and the door swung wide open. And there in the doorway was a female silhouette, long dress, long hair. She stood there for about 10 seconds, just looking at them, without moving. And then, she faded away. like smoke. She simply disappeared into the air. The couple ran out of the room, went to the front desk in a panic. They checked the security cameras in the hallway. Nobody entered that hallway. Absolutely nobody. But the door to their room had opened, and they saw someone there. The feeling of being watched. Oh, and there's one thing that everyone who stays at this hotel comments on: the feeling of being watched, especially in certain specific rooms. You're there, reading a book, on your phone, watching TV, and suddenly you get that super strong feeling that someone is watching you. You look around and there's nobody. But the feeling doesn't go away. On the contrary, it gets stronger. It's the kind of feeling that makes you want to leave the room, go somewhere with more people, with more light. Some guests can't even sleep in the room. They prefer to go to the lobby and spend the night awake there. Look, I know these stories are already intense, but you need to prepare yourself now. Because the next hotel, man, this one is considered by professional paranormal investigators as the most haunted hotel in all of Canada. When you find out how many ghosts live there, how many deaths happened at that place, you'll understand why it's so special. It's a hotel that was built on top of a cemetery, a place where bloody battles took place, a place where hundreds of people died, and all of them are still there. Take a deep breath, because here it comes. All right, now we're going to discover the most haunted hotel in all of Canada. But before that, I noticed something here. You still haven't left a like on this video. So give us that support. Drop a like. It's free, and it helps a ton. Now let's go to Canada's most haunted hotel. Hotel 1, Chateau Frontenac, Quebec City. It's time. The most haunted hotel in all of Canada. This hotel is in Quebec City. It's that hotel you've definitely seen pictures of even without knowing it. It's the most photographed hotel in the entire world. It looks like a giant castle, super imposing, sits on top of a hill overlooking the river. Its name is Chateau Frontenac, and it opened in 1893. In other words, it has over 130 years of history. And look, in those 130 years, a lot has happened there. A lot. Why is this the most haunted? Let me explain why this hotel wins by far the title of most haunted. First, it has over 130 years of history. That means decades and decades of people passing through there, living, dying. Second, there are hundreds of documented deaths at this hotel. Hundreds. Some were accidents, some were natural, some... Nobody knows to this day what happened. Third, over 20 different ghosts have been reported at this hotel. It's not one ghost, not two, it's 20. And fourth, most importantly, the paranormal activity isn't sporadic. It's not like, oh, once in a while something strange happens. No, every single day something unexplainable happens at this hotel. Every day. Staff have gotten used to it. They work there knowing they're going to witness something strange. It's part of the routine. But there's more. This hotel was built literally on top of an old indigenous burial ground. They removed the bodies, but they disturbed those spirits. Battlefield. During the 7 Years' War, 1756 to 1763, that land was the scene of bloody battles between the French and British. Hundreds of soldiers died there, in that exact spot. Makeshift hospital. During cholera epidemics and other diseases, the building was used as a hospital. People died every day in terrible suffering, without adequate treatment. That's a lot of death, a lot of suffering, a lot of heavy energy accumulated in one single place. And according to paranormal experts, places like this work as anchors for spirits. They get stuck there, unable to move on. The main ghosts. Let me introduce you to the most famous residents of this hotel. 1. The Count of Frontenac. The hotel is named after him, Count Frontenac. He was a governor of New France back in the 17th century, like in the 1600s. And this guy, he's still there. Staff see him walking through the hotel's grand hall, always in full period attire, those super elaborate 1600s clothes, with hat, cape, everything. And you know what's craziest? Staff can recognize him because there are historical paintings of him scattered throughout the hotel. When they see the ghost, they compare it to the paintings, and it's him, it's the Count. He usually appears during parties and events, as if he's still the host, observing everything, checking that everything is running smoothly. There was a wedding event where several guests took photos. When they looked at the photos later, there was a man in old-fashioned clothes in the background. But nobody saw him during the event. He only appeared in the photos. 2. The Lady in Red. Now this one is really scary. There's a woman who appears wearing a blood-red Victorian dress, dark red, very intense. She walks down the hotel's main hallway every day at midnight. Midnight on the dot. Guests who are returning to their rooms at that time see her, and when they see her, they freeze. Because she doesn't have a defined face. In place of her face, there's only fog, like white smoke. Imagine you're in the hallway and you see a woman in a red dress coming toward you. And when she gets close, you realize she has no face, just fog in its place. And there are brave people, or foolish ones, who try to approach her, try to talk to her. You know what happens? She simply walks through the wall and disappears. She doesn't open a door, doesn't go around it. She walks through the solid wall as if it wasn't there. 3. The Ghost Governors. The hotel served as headquarters for several colonial governors throughout history, and several of them died there. And you know what happens? They still hold meetings. Graveyard shift staff hear sounds of discussion coming from certain halls. Those heated discussions, people debating, arguing. When they go to check, there's nobody in the hall, but the voices continue. And it's in Old French, that French that isn't spoken anymore. And the weirdest part, furniture moves during these meetings. Chairs are dragged as if someone is pulling them to sit. Tables shake. It's as if they're reliving those important meetings they used to have when they were alive. So, we've reached the end of this spine-chilling journey through the 7 most haunted hotels in Canada. Man, when you stop to think about it, it's impressive, right? Canada has a very rich paranormal hotel history. And look, we only talked about 7 hotels. There are so many more out there. So, if you want me to share more haunted hotels in Canada, leave a comment below and I'll make a part 2. Thanks for watching all the way to the end. For real, I know the video got long, but you stuck with me until the end and that means so much. Don't forget to leave your like. It really helps the channel grow and reach more people who also enjoy this kind of content. And subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next videos. Because there's a lot of good stuff coming. More supernatural stories, unsolved mysteries, urban legends. Hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new video drops. And remember, checkout time is 11 a.m. But some guests, they prefer to stay forever. See you in the next video, if you dare to come back.